How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to the corner. I am the DM as always, and I know it's been a while. It's been a long while, but I was playing Path of Exile 2, and I got this. And given how long the game has been out and how many times I've reported this and everything, I feel like they should have fixed the navigation for minions by now, because they're still getting stuck on doorways. And it's not just minions that are doing this. This is NPCs and AI in general. Sorry, I'm still getting over a little bit of a cold. And so I submitted a bug report about this because I feel like this should have been addressed by now, and it's not. But in that, I came across this, because I also filed a feedback post, as I do every time I run into this bug. And it's called GGG. Here's some basic concepts on how to make a game fun. You're welcome. From some guy who doesn't understand game design. I guarantee that. And I know he doesn't, because he has really bad takes and really bad examples. So let's go ahead and get into that, shall we? So he starts off by saying, so let's all agree that PoE2 is a chore. It's not, and I'll explain why shortly. Even for those who think the game is perfect, no one thinks the game is perfect. No one. Not me, not Jazz, not Hog, not Darth microtransactions, not Zizarain. Literally no one thinks this game is perfect. If you can find me a person who thinks this game is perfect, I will tell you why they work at IGN. Because they're fucking stupid. The game is still a series of chores. No, it's not. You go through the game never being rewarded with any good loot to farm up money, currencies, to buy the items you need from others. Now, this is a point that I somewhat agree with him on. A lot of the loot that you get is trash. It's trash! And why is it trash? Well, Hog actually did a really good video on it, and it's something I've said pretty much since the beginning. And it's the quantity of loot you get. Okay? Or rather, the quantity of quality loot that you get. Okay? And what do I mean by that? I do not mean loot that drops with quality, although I think that does need to be dialed up. What I mean by the quality of the quantity of the loot you get is going into a map, clearing the entire map, and getting maybe a handful of rares. And of that handful of rares, maybe one or two of them are decent, right? Like maybe they have a few resistance rolls on them, right? Or maybe a few rolls that help out your build. That's what I mean by the quality of the quantity, right? So I think the quantity of rare items needs to be increased, or the quality of the rare items that you get needs to be increased in proportion to the quantity. That means that if they only want to give you, let's say, 12 rare items, those 12 rare items need to be good, right? They can't be 12 rare items that you immediately hawk to the fucking vendor for regal shards, because they're all ass. Okay. That's the equivalent of having a job. I don't think this guy's worked a single blue-collar job in his life. You work all month, get paid, buy groceries for food, to sustain yourself and not die. This is not how video games should work. Now, here's the thing. I agree on the notion that this is not how video games should work. I do not agree on the notion that that is how Path of Exile works. Because Path of Exile 2, and indeed all video games that I've played in my 30 plus years of living, not a single one has ever felt like a job. Have I treated them as if they were a job? Yes. But why? Why have I treated them like a job? Because the games that I've treated like a job, I have wanted to because they are fun. And I want to play them more. And I want to grind them more. And I want to get more out of them. But did you notice the key word in everything that I said? I'm sure some of you have. The key word was want. I wanted to do it. I did not feel forced to do it. I did not feel like the game had to be played that way. I wanted to play the game that way. Okay. Now, the game is not difficult. Okay. Okay. Before people start saying, oh, but the game is difficult, so it's skill issues. No, it's not difficult. Keeping the player's power level artificially at the lowest you can is not difficulty. Because I can buy good items from others and blow up the bosses and one-shot everything. It is artificial difficulty, and it is aimed at low IQ people that don't understand the difference between a challenge and being a hamster on a wheel with a carrot on the other side of the cage. So, firstly, the first thing I want to address here is that he is saying that everyone who is having fun with the game and says that the game is difficult, he's saying that all of you have low IQs. He's saying you're all fucking stupid. Okay. Well, since that's where we're setting the bar, Mr. Blade Dancer or Blade underscore Dancer underscore 90. Let's just see here. One, keeping the player's power level at a level, or keeping the player's power level at any level is artificial. Okay, from the foundational level. Keeping a player's power level high is artificial because the developers have decided that is where they want to keep it. Keeping a player's power level at a middle ground is artificial because that's where the developers want it. Keeping it low is artificial because that's where the developers want it. Your argument falters at its very start because you failed to grasp the fact that player power is moderated by the developers and is therefore always artificial. Okay? Whatever your player power level is, it is artificial. Okay? Oh, let's see. Putting that aside, okay? Keeping it low is the very definition of difficulty, okay? And I'm going to pull up Merriam-Webster to prove it. So right here, as always, every single link I have is in the description. Merriam-Webster, okay? The premier website for definitions and one of the most trusted websites when it comes to definitions, okay? The quality or state of being hard to do, being hard to deal with, or understand. Okay, clearly understanding difficulty is difficult for this individual. Okay, it's also the quality or state of being difficult. Okay. To say that keeping your power level low is not difficulty is to fail to grasp the very basic and fundamental definition of the word difficulty. Okay? For instance, giving a boss twice the amount of health is already is a form of difficulty. You may not like it and may feel that it is a cheap way to make something feel more difficult, but it is at its fundamental level difficulty. Okay. A better way to phrase this would be to say, quote, I feel that keeping player power level low is a cheap and lazy way of increasing difficulty, which would be an accurate statement and one I could get behind. However, by stating it is not difficulty, you show your lack of understanding and capability to understand basic concepts. Okay. Again, you set the bar low. I'm going to go with the low bar. Okay. Because I have to. Because you're saying everyone else has a low IQ. That is an argument that people with low IQs make. Okay. 2. Let me take a sip of water real quick. Or rather, brisk iced tea today. 2. The concept of fun might be different from different people in specific situations, but the base source where fun comes from in video games is always the same for everyone. It comes from 2 sources, and we'll get to those in a moment, okay? Because this right here fails on a fundamental level as well. First off, there is no might when it comes to whether fun is different from person to person. Because at its very core, the concept of fun is almost always different from person to person, okay? Some people enjoy the same thing, while someone else finds that exact same thing boring, repetitive, or both. Thereby demonstrating you yet again fail to grasp a basic concept, which is fun. Okay. Even the base source, as you describe it, changes from person to person. Some people love how hard and frustratingly difficult FromSoft boss designs are. Others do not. Okay. Some people love Super Mario on the Nintendo Entertainment System. Others do not. Some people love Baldur's Gate 3. Others do not. 2 people can love Baldur's Gate 3 for entirely different reasons. And those entirely different reasons can be reasons that those same 2 people hate that game. So one person might say, I love the story of Baldur's Gate 3, but I hate the combat. While their friend will turn to them and say, I hate the story of Baldur's Gate 3, but I love the combat of Baldur's Gate 3. Do you understand? The base source of fun differs from person to person because everyone finds different things more or less enjoyable than another person. Some enjoy boss fighting. Look at Jazarus, okay? He loves bossing. He loves fighting bosses. He thinks that is the most fun this game has to offer. He has no life to this game to the point where he has finished his Atlas tree. He is basically on to just the pinnacle bosses at this point. Okay? He has started a hardcore solo self-found mercenary because of how much he loves this fucking game. Okay. Meanwhile, other people find watching packs just explode from the click of a button fun and not bossing. Okay. And still others enjoy being able to sit back and let other people kill things for them. Whether that be partying up with friends and watching them explode everything, or like me, sitting back and having minions do everything for you. Being able to sit back and watch them just explode the room around you. Okay. But still others prefer platformers. And even then, others still prefer platformers that don't have enemies. Okay? Just like spike traps and whatnot, hazards, or even just the puzzle itself as the difficulty. Okay? And still further, others enjoy games that have no enemies at all, like the game Journey. Okay? I love Journey. I think Journey is an absolute blast. I think it is a remarkable journey, and I think everyone needs to go and play that game. What you find fun is not going to be the same as everyone else. If you are not having fun, Blade_Dancer_90. Okay, if you're not having fun with the game, look instead at what you are doing in the game and see if that isn't why you are not having fun with the game, or if the game itself just doesn't speak to you. Okay? If the game itself doesn't speak to you, that's okay. Not every game is going to call to every player, to every person. Okay? It's just not. Because that's not how games work. Okay? And if it's not calling to you, and that's the reason you're not having fun with it, find a different game. Okay? Find a different game. Instead of going onto the forums and bitching that the game doesn't cater to you, and then demanding that the game cater to you specifically. Now, let's get into these. A and B. A sense of exploration. A sense of exploration is simple, and almost all games have it, except for the really, really bad ones. This is just wrong. You explore the game, you explore the mechanics, the world, the atmosphere. Path of Exile 2 doesn't suffer from this much, except the incredibly annoying dependency on dodge roll and the some really bullshit mechanics like on-death effects and swarming. The game is actually good on the exploration side of things. So, I just have something real quick to say about this part. This game is an ARPG, which stands for Action Role Playing Game. Okay? This is not a genre that is known for or generally cares much about exploration in and of itself. Okay? This game is about action, not exploration. Okay? If you want a game based around exploration, which you clearly do because you make a note of it, if you didn't, you wouldn't have mentioned it. Okay? If you want a game like that, there are a plethora of titles out there that do that. Look at literally any JRPG. Look at any open world game. Look at games like Journey, Sky Children of Light, which was made by the people who made Journey. By the way, it's free on Steam. Okay. Look at any of these games that are built around being explored. If you want a game based around exploration, you have a plethora of games that will offer you dozens of hours of entertainment. A sense of discovery and accomplishment. Okay, we're going to break this one up. So, so here comes the part at which PoE2 is really bad at, and PoE1 did mostly right, and certainly way, way better than PoE2. So, what is sense of discovery? It's the excitement that comes from finding out what you need for yourself to beat the game by playing the game. In this game, you cannot beat it by playing it. You will never find enough enough to sustain you on the ground, and you always have to go back to the vendors and the online trading to get what you need. Okay. Okay. I have a lot to say here. When it comes to discovery, you're clearly looking to discover things via exploration. That much is clear from the first two sentences of these three paragraphs. And yeah, so like literally right here. Excitement of coming to find what you need by playing the game, right? Clearly you're looking to explore the game and be able to beat the game by that, right? As mentioned before, this game is not about exploration in the sense you're wanting, which is to go through the game and explore the world. That's not what this game is about. Okay? This game is about build exploration. You're supposed to explore the build that you have and figure out what you need to beat the game. Okay? If you want to discover builds, you simply don't look up guides. Okay? It's bam, done. Stick to what's in the game. Okay? You clearly don't do this. The game itself actually does a really phenomenal job of telling the player exactly how everything works in game. And I'm going to prove this. And it's significantly more so than PoE1, which does absolutely fucking nothing. If I pull up the passive tree, okay, and I hover over this, it tells you exactly what minions are right here. You hover over this, it tells you exactly what an attack is. You hover over this, it tells you exactly what energy shield is. You hover over this, it tells you exactly what reviving minions are. Okay. You hover over this, it tells you exactly what chaos resistance is. If you pull this up, life, energy shield, mana, tells you all of these are explained. This is explained. It tells you exactly what the cap is. It tells you exactly what the actual like highest possible value you can get is, right? Let's see. You have all of this information about evasion. It tells you what evasion is. It tells you what resistance is. It tells you what fucking thorns is. It tells you what damage taken is. It tells you what a hit is. Okay? It tells you what cold damage is. Lightning damage. It tells you what charms are. This game does an incredible job of telling you exactly what everything is. Okay? Or what most things are. Okay? It tells you what fucking spells are. Okay? So, for you to sit here and say that that Path of Exile does a way better job than PoE1 at explaining what shit does, you just clearly never bother looking at anything in game. Okay. Because of this, in your first paragraph alone, you have demonstrated a lack of any capability to distinguish between what something does and doesn't do. Because Path of Exile 2 does an exceptionally better job at explaining its mechanics than Path of Exile 1. I know just at a glance what 90% of the shit that happens in Path of Exile 2 does. On death effects, tells you exactly what it happens. This thing triggers on death. When this thing dies, it will trigger this. Okay? When oh my god. I'm moving on before I fucking blow a gasket. You say you can't beat it without playing it. But this is literally blatantly false information, okay? I have damn near an entire playthrough of this character on my channel, going through the entire game, where the vast majority of my equipment is shit I found on the ground. There's a couple I've gotten from the vendor, sure. But most of that is this because it gave me a higher level skeletal warriors. That's it. Okay. Other than that, the vast majority of the shit that I have on that character, I found on the ground. I played through the entire game on several characters without ever looking up guides. Still haven't to this day. I've beaten every single campaign boss without help. Learned every single move they use and how to avoid them on my own. So again, this is blatantly false information. You absolutely can beat this game by playing it. And by the way, going to vendors and getting stuff off of them is playing the game. You know what is not playing the game? Having to stop playing the game. Alt-Tab to go to a third-party website to be like, how to beat Gem and Raw. What does Gem and Raw do? How to beat the count. That is beating the game. That is learning how to beat the game without playing the game. You absolutely can beat this game by playing this game, and I have an entire fucking playthrough on my channel proving it. Shut the fuck up. You don't know what you're fucking talking about. Okay. You also say you have to go back to the vendors and can never find enough sustain on the ground. And again, this is blatantly false information because of what I just said. I've rarely used vendors, and even to this day, I rarely use them, and have not had any issues since I actually trade with other people rather than NPCs. Also, shocker alert, a multiplayer game. In a multiplayer game, you have to actually interact with other people. Who'd have thought? Wow! What? You have to engage with other people in a multiplayer game. I need a drink because of that. Wow. If you want to not engage with them, either just don't do it, or solo self-found. There are a lot of streamers, Zizerin's the first one that comes to mind, Jazarus, who I mentioned before, who have hardcore solo self-found characters. And since you probably don't know what a solo self-found character, I should probably mention what those are. A solo self-found character cannot trade or interact with other players. They just can't. They have to do everything entirely by themselves. So yeah. Moving on to this, to the next paragraph. Think about it this way, and this is think about it this way. What's more exciting? To find the key to a car on the ground and the car itself next to it, or to save up for years to buy that car with your own money? Certainly the first one. And guess what? The first one doesn't happen in real life, which is why it's exciting that it happens in video games. What video game are you playing? I'm just going to pause here because this just occurred to me. What video game are you playing where you play it and then you find the keys to a car and then the car is sitting next to it? But when you take a video game and tell players that, quote, you have to save up and buy the things you need from trading, then you're essentially telling them to do what they do in real life, working their everyday job. So, this next paragraph is just fucking awful. From its start, he gives a terrible fucking example. Finding keys to a car on the ground would not be exciting. For if you just take them and make no attempt at returning them, you're committing theft. And not only are you committing theft, you're committing a felony level theft because of the price of cars, okay, being more than 10 grand here in the United States. So, not only are you trying to deprive someone of who rightfully owns the car the ability to use it, but you're committing a felony. Okay, so from the outset, your fucking example is just terrible. Okay, putting that aside, okay, how is needing to play the game and interact with other players in a multiplayer game equal to a job? Okay. This is why I said earlier that I don't think he's ever actually worked a blue-collar job in his life. I've worked multiple, okay? And even the most, in no game that I've ever played, as I've mentioned before, in 30 plus years of living, has ever felt like a job, okay? Anywhere close to a job, okay? Even the most grind-intensive games that I've ever played before. And I've played gacha games, okay? Even those do not feel like a job, okay? If anything, they might feel like a chore or feel laborious to do, but they don't feel like a fucking job, okay? A job is something that you don't want to go to. Something that you're doing out of a necessity to be able to buy food, okay? To be able to sustain yourself. So you can play video games. So you can continue to live, okay? No game has ever felt like that. And if a game is feeling like that to you, I'm going to be honest, you need to see a psychiatrist. Okay. If you don't want to interact with people, either go play solo self-bound or play a single-player game. Path of Exile, both 1 and 2, are multiplayer games. And asking players in these multiplayer games to interact with other people's isn't, quote, essentially telling them to do what they do in real life, working their everyday job. Go work an actual 9-to-5 blue-collar job. Go work on a construction site. And then say that playing Path of Exile 2 feels like a job. Because then I'll punch you in the face for being a fucking liar. Finally, we come to your third paragraph in this, okay? And on the accomplishment part, yes, beating a hard boss is rewarding, but it's rewarding because of the reward of beating it. Doing 1,000 push-ups, which I guess is a Brooklyn Nine-Nine reference that he feels obligated to point out for some reason, is rewarding only of they give me something for it. Yes, he said of. I'm not correcting that. If they give me a new car for doing 1,000 push-ups, then fuck yeah, it's exciting. But if I do 1,000 push-ups and the guy tells me, good job, you can do them, you're a champ, and give me $10 and a pat on the back, then all I can think is, why the fuck did I do 1,000 push-ups, you a-hole? I'm gonna be honest, this last paragraph is worse than Jazzerus's English. Okay, I can understand Jazzerus's English better than fucking this paragraph, because that's how bad this fucking paragraph is. Okay, so where do I begin? Your examples continue to be the worst thing in existence. Doing 1,000 push-ups on its own is the fucking reward, you fucking asshole moron. Okay, if you don't think that, or sorry, if you don't think that, uh, is my English is bad when I wrote this. Apparently, if you don't think that, that's because you've never done 1,000 push-ups. 1,000 push-ups is more difficult to do than literally fighting every single boss in Path of Exile 2 at the same time. Okay? Literally more difficult. Okay? You do the push-ups because it makes you physically stronger, makes your body healthier, and gives you an adrenaline rush you'll only understand if you've actually gone and done a single fucking workout routine in your entire fucking life, which clearly you've never done. Now, here's the last one. Okay. Giving power to the player. This video is already 37 minutes and 20 seconds long. Okay. But I'm going to read this whole fucking thing, and then I'm going to pull up 7 videos that the first 7 videos you will find if you type in Path of Exile 2 one-shot build into YouTube, okay? And you'll see how much power players can actually fucking get if you stop and fucking play the game. So, should you give players more power to make the game easier for them? Because it's not just men that play this game, you misogynistic fuck. And feel good about themselves, because it's more than just you that play this game, you selfish little fuck. And the answer is yes, by the way. The answer is yes, not yes and no. Because by saying yes and no, you're literally countering, you're literally like fighting your own argument about what your whole post is for. But let's go on with this, okay? No, you shouldn't just give them free stuff for doing nothing. But yes, you should 100% give them more power when he accomplishes something. Maybe go and, I don't know, make a proper build, which really isn't that hard to fucking do. In fact, so this is my cast on free sorceress. I haven't quite gotten her to max level yet, but I'm just gonna, you know, show you what her build does right now, without really even having to do anything. Just to really give you a example of the kind of power you can get. Okay. Now, there's a lot of people that say cast on freeze is dead and that it's trash. And I'm going to be honest, I don't think these people have tried to properly build for a cast on freeze character. Because if they did, they would see that it's not. As you can see, most of these enemies are being frozen damn near instantly. And the energy that I get is pretty fucking substantial. And mind you, these are all white mobs, okay? So that's really all I'm going to fucking showcase here, right? So, for you to sit here and say that you aren't accomplished or you aren't rewarded for accomplishing anything, I don't know about you, but I feel pretty fucking rewarded. Okay, I don't even have comment yet on that sorceress. Okay, and I'm still melting and gaining quite a bit of energy per freeze. Okay. Continuing on. Everyone is raving about the boss fights in this game, but how many of you have actually gotten 1% more powerful after beating the boss? Not by leveling up or buying stuff from elsewhere, directly by beating the boss. Almost nobody. And if the game had a ton of loot anyway, like PoE1, that would be passable, because you'd eventually get at least what you need. So, the issue I have right here is that he wants to be like, oh, how many of you have actually gotten more powerful by just beating the boss and not the loot? And then immediately goes on to say, you know, but it would be okay if we got loot and got more powerful that way. Motherfucker, you contradict your own point within the same breath. In this game, beating the boss itself, the boss's death has never, and even in PoE1, does not directly give you power. It does not directly give you 10% increased spell damage just because the boss died. That's not how the game works. The game gives you power by giving you loot, and the loot gives you that 10% spell damage, or 10% minion damage, or what the fuck ever. Have you gone and done any of the in-game bosses? Have you even fought the pinnacle bosses of Path of Exile 1? I have. I fought the Maiden, or Maven, whatever the fuck her name is. Okay? I fought the pinnacle bosses of PoE 1. Not at the highest difficulty, but I have. And I fought the bosses, not the pinnacle bosses, but I fought the map bosses and in-game bosses of Path of Exile 2. And guess what? The power doesn't come from directly beating them. It comes from the loot that they drop. But if the game is starving you for loot and the big challenges don't give you anything specifically good, then what's the point of the challenge? There's a reason dunks are worth 2 points and shots from 25 plus feet away are worth 3 points. Those shots are harder to hit consistently and therefore are rewarded more. Well, you just answered your own question. The challenge is the reason that you have a better chance for a better reward. Okay? The devs have confirmed that the higher tier difficulty you beat the pinnacle bosses in, the better their uniques are. And in fact, by beating them at certain thresholds, you unlock the capability of getting specific uniques to drop. And after a certain threshold, some uniques are removed from the pool because they are considered too weak to be rewarding for that challenge. You answered your own question. So the final pillar, spelled with one L for some reason, of fun is this: gaining power, not being gifted power. Gaining it. Playing the game, accomplishing something, and instantly becoming more powerful. My guy, this game is not about instant gratification. Actually, you are too conditioned to Diablo 4 spitting out. You know what? Let me. So, this is a less than 2-minute video. I'm just going to skip all the way to the end. So, this is a short from Riker. And in Diablo 4, you kill this boss and you get 6 legendaries to drop. A legendary equivalent in Path of Exile would be a unique. Okay. That's not this game. And you have been conditioned to believe that if you're not getting legendaries and 15,000 rares, that, oh, my instant my neurons aren't firing. I need my instant gratification. Fucking shut the fuck up. Stop trying to go with the instant gratification dopamine horseshit. Because I'll be honest, this shit doesn't excite me. I've played Diablo 3, okay? And in Diablo 3, highest difficulty, I would kill a boss and loot would just explode. It'd be a fucking pinata of loot. And then I would pick everything up, and this is the same thing in Diablo 4. I'd pick everything up. I would fucking discraft or uncraft, fucking like disenchant all of the rares because they were useless. I would glance at all the uniques that dropped for half a second and go, all of these are dog shit, and disenchant every single one. And in the end, I would be left with nothing to show for the time that I invested in getting all of that loot. Okay. I would rather. So basically, what would happen is you would kill a boss and then no loot would drop. Because all the loot that dropped is fucking useless. So when you think about it, in Path of Exile 2, having very little loot drop, and even the little bit of loot that does drop, is ultimately useless. And then when you finally get something good, you're like, yes, finally, great. When you have that happen, it is the exact same effect as in Diablo having 15,000 pieces of loot drop, salvaging every single one of them 50,000 times in a row before one piece of loot drops that you can finally use and go, yes, finally, let's go. It's the exact same effect. The exact same. The difference being, in Path of Exile 2, the game is fun. And you can actually use items that might not necessarily be a direct upgrade for you. And then you can craft them into being somewhat decent. That's the difference. That's the difference. PoE2 is god-awfully sorry. PoE2 is god-awfully bad at not rewarding. So, or in this aspect, sorry. And no, finding exalted orbs to spend online for good items is not gaining power. Yes, it is. You have yet again shown yourself to be incapable of understanding definitions. Getting a good item that is better than yours and becoming more powerful as a result is the definition of gaining power. Whether it's from another player or from a mob, they're the same thing. And they are the very definition of gaining power. And it's not rewarding. Now, see, here's something that I can somewhat agree with. To some people, that doesn't feel rewarding. But hey, guess what? That goes right back to what I said about difficulty. Is that some people find FromSoft bosses rewarding to beat, and others find them frustrating and bullshit and not rewarding at all. It's just a transaction like me selling my old Thrustmaster racing wheel because I bought a new Fanatic direct drive wheel. It's not exciting. It's just a transaction. Well, if upgrading your racing wheel is not exciting for you, clearly you don't enjoy racing games. That at least not enough to be excited about upgrading to a better wheel. So before all the armies of get good and skill issue bots descend upon me, oh yeah, of course, because you have to be bots, because if you think this way, you have really low IQ. Do one thing. Dip your tongues in your brain and think about the aforementioned. Well, I mean, clearly you're the one with low IQ because tongues don't stretch that far. Think about the difference of having fun than being good at a job. Thanks for reading. Well, maybe you should first. Because some people find this right here to be fun. And also, you know, to be gaining power. So, yeah. If you think like this, you have a low IQ. Because you don't understand game design and you don't understand the basic concept of fun. You do not understand what difficulty is. And you want the game to cater solely to you. And more likely than not, you probably think that a casual game like Diablo 4 is better than Path of Exile 2. I'm just gonna say it! You probably think Diablo 4 is better than Path of Exile 2. Anyways, this video is an hour fucking long. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all have a fantastic New Year's. I've been the DM as always. Thank you for coming to my corner. Thank you for hanging out with me. You know, if you liked the video, hit like and subscribe. Didn't like the video, hit dislike, leave a comment, let me know why Diablo 4 is better than Path of Exile 2. And I'll let you know why you're a fucking moron. I'll see you next year. Oh, you know, I totally forgot to show you the 7 videos of one-shot builds. So we have this one from Rage Gaming, which was uploaded 20 hours ago. We have this one, which was uploaded 2 days ago. We have this one from Darth Microtransactions, which was uploaded 3 weeks ago. We have this one from Spud the King, which was uploaded 2 days ago. We have this one from Path of Exile Builds, which was uploaded 2 days ago. We have this one from Dry Bear Games, which was uploaded 2 weeks ago. And we have this one from Nick Tew, which was uploaded 8 days ago. 40 million DPS. We have this one, which is a one-shot leveling build. We have this one, which is an ice shot build, which is a boss killer, and a currency farmer, by the way. We have this one, which has a DPS list of 291k, but it melts T18 bosses. We have this one, which is just a one-shot Titan Sunder Slam build. So, you know, we have this one, which is 40 million damage. You know, same as this one. It might actually even be the same one. I'm not sure. But yeah, we have this one. And then we have, you know, this one, which has a whole bunch of different ones. Yeah. Yeah. All these will be linked in the description as well as this search result right here. There you go.